Welcome everyone. Welcome Annette, welcome Amelia. Hi Lisa, Mary, Sean, Alex, Simon, lovely to have you all here. I'm Dori Cabillo from Nexus Psychology, and we're welcoming you today to a special Wednesday Wellness. Today we are going to be focusing on Are You OK Day? And I asked you last week to invite someone special, someone else along to the session. And I reached out to my sister. I can see she's on now. Shout out to Anita. Thanks for joining. So today we're going to have Annette Marlow do some mindfulness with us. And then she'll be followed by psychologist Amelia Twiss to talk about Are You OK Day and give some tips. Hi, Jenny. I wanted to encourage everyone today to put your email address either in the chat box in a direct message to me, or email us at Nexus, or join on our website. We've got a special button where you can register to find out more information about the work that we're going to be doing with regard to these Wednesday wellness sessions. So please give us your contact details if you want to be on a mailing list to receive some information. So welcome everyone again. I'm recording this session. I've recorded the other sessions too, which we're happy to share. And I will just introduce Annette now to take us through a mindfulness. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Dori. I can see some familiar faces that have been coming each week, and I can see Jill. Hi Jill, I haven't seen you in ages. So welcome back everyone. Actually, I was having a little bit of a reflect before on how many mindful Zoom sessions we've done through Nexus since the beginning of COVID-19, and I think we're heading up to about 20 now. So it certainly is a new experience. So whilst it's really nice to be face to face when we practice mindfulness and connect, particularly on a day like today where we're talking about Are You OK? It's always really nice to have that eye-to-eye contact with someone, but that is not our case today. So we're going to do the best we can, zooming in, so well done for all coming. And I can see, I just wonder, there's a few more people coming on. So we'll just give it another minute before we get started. But meanwhile, I'll just give it one more second. I can see someone connecting now. So while we're waiting, can you all just have a little think about how often you've had a conversation with someone and thought you were paying attention to them, only to realise shortly after that you can't even remember a word that they've said? Nods. Or perhaps you had full intention of having a conversation with someone, but somehow got distracted on the way and missed the very message that they were trying to tell you. So I'm sure we've all experienced that before. And what about how often you've been trying to talk to someone and you feel like you're not being listened to, or you're not being heard? They're either looking away somewhere else or checking their phone. You're not getting eye contact with them. And how does that make you feel? So the reason I've put those thoughts in our mind is that in light of Are You OK Day today, I thought it's really important today to touch on the mindful skill of listening. And mindful listening is really where we intentionally have an intentional conversation, where we're fully present, listening to the person we're conversing with the same principles of how we would do a mindful meditation, without judging them, without criticising them, without interrupting them, all at the same time as being aware of your internal thoughts, perhaps reactions that you're having while you're speaking to someone, and distractions that might be getting in the way, so that it's stopping you from having a really connected conversation. So when we listen mindfully, we really absorb the whole message that a person's trying to tell us. So we can feel understood, they can feel understood, and they can feel respected. So practicing mindful listening is a really great way to get to know yourself and to learn perhaps what gets in your way, what distracts you and blocks your ability to communicate and listen carefully to someone. So for example, rather than listening to someone intently, you might get distracted. You might get distracted by your own thoughts that come in the way, your reactions to the person or judgments about the person. Or maybe you get distracted by external things. You get distracted by noises outside of your room, or noises in your room, or children in the background, or pets. Or you might get distracted from all the technology around you. You could be trying to have a conversation and your phone is beeping and you're getting a text message and you're constantly multitasking, or trying to have a conversation with someone while you're typing an email. So these are all the things that might draw you away from having a mindful conversation with someone. So I invite you today, when we practice our mindful meditation, to see if you can bring the same sense of observing yourself and what is pulling you out of the mindful meditation today. What is distracting you? Is it your thoughts that are distracting you? Are they external noises? And so that's what I'd like you to try and focus on today as we move through a mindful meditation on communication, on listening, on trying to bring our focus and become attentive. So how about, I think we're all here now, so how about we settle in and get started? So as if we're intending to have a conversation with someone, let's see if we can turn off our distractions. See if we can be fully present for the next 10 minutes so that we can really experience a moment of mindfulness. So if you can begin to just settle yourself, and as you know, I always like to start with some purposeful breaths. So in your own way, can you take 3 purposeful breaths? And as you breathe out, really feel your body starting to soften, starting to let go, starting to loosen. And then if you're ready to gently close down your eyes, start to become aware of the space or screen of darkness in front of your eyes, somewhat up at the level of your eyebrows, perhaps slightly into your forehead. This is just a resting point for your awareness. You might notice some muted shapes or colours, but you're not purposefully looking for anything. Just anchoring your awareness here, settling, awake, open and alert. And remembering that we cultivate mindfulness by practicing without judgment, without being reactive, and focusing our awareness in the present moment, moment by moment, using anchors such as the breath or sounds, body sensations, to hold our attention in presence. Inevitably, thoughts, feelings, impulses will call your attention away and usually draw you away from being in touch with the present moment. So remember, that's normal and expected. That's the nature of our mind. It's also a mindful moment when you notice that you have been distracted and that you can bring it back into presence. So I invite you now to open your awareness to sounds. Just listening. Can you extend your listening to hear the furthest sound away from you? All kinds of sounds will come and go in the distance. Might be sounds of cars far away, construction, voices, sounds of nature. Just listening. Trying not to get lost in thinking about the sounds, whether you like the sounds, but simply knowing they're there in the background, just listening. And now if you can bring your awareness to more immediate sounds, sounds perhaps that are closer by, perhaps just outside your window or inside your house or even in the room that you're seated in. Just curiously noticing sounds. Even listening to the silence between sounds. And if a thought comes into your head, let it rise up and then let it fade away, coming back to listening. And now bring your awareness to the sensations of breathing. Can you notice the feeling of simply breathing? Perhaps it's the sensation of air touching your nostrils as you breathe in and as you breathe out, or the slight rise and fall of your belly. Trying not to force your breath, control it, or change it in any way. Just allowing it to flow, moment by moment. And every time that your mind wanders off, just noticing perhaps where it's gone, what's pulling at your mind, what's distracting you, and then allowing yourself to release yourself from it, intentionally returning back to the breath and listening to sounds. And before moving back into your day, just seeing if it's possible to bring a sense of mindfulness into communicating and listening to your friends, colleagues, partners, children, maybe even a stranger. and see if you can attend to a conversation mindfully over the upcoming few days, and seeing if you can reach out to someone to check in, to listen and respond mindfully. So as we come towards the end of this mindful meditation, re-establishing some contact with your body, perhaps wiggling your fingers and toes, stretching, moving a little around. And I'll pass you over to the lovely Amelia, who's going to talk more about Are You OK Day and how we can all make a difference to someone else.
Beautiful, thanks Annette. Lovely to see everyone again this week. Many of you are probably aware that tomorrow is Are You OK Day. So we really wanted to remind people to check in and to ask, are you okay? And, you know, maybe the person that you're asking this to this week is yourself. We've got a lot to deal with at the moment with the pandemic and the lockdown. There's a big impact on all of our lives and our livelihoods. So just taking some time to reflect on that question, are you okay? So by asking, are you okay, you're really giving someone the opportunity to share how they're feeling. And this lets them know that you care and that some support is available. Thinking about who to ask. So there might be someone in your life who you know is actually having some struggles at the moment. Maybe they are experiencing stress around work. Maybe they're experiencing financial difficulties or relationship issues, or maybe they're just a little bit overwhelmed. They might be a good person to reach out to. You might also notice people in your life, maybe they're feeling a little bit more tired than usual, maybe they're a bit less talkative than usual, or less sociable than usual. The key point there is than usual. So friends, family and workmates really play an important role, as we're well placed to notice when someone's behaviour changes, and that can be a real indicator that they might be struggling or maybe that they're not okay. So say you notice and you decide to check in. Think about when and where you're going to have this conversation. Make sure there's no pressure to finish up the conversation quickly. So, you know, just before an important meeting is probably not a good time to ask someone if they're okay. But thinking about when and where. And just comment on what you've noticed and let the person know that you're concerned and give them some space to respond. You might say something like, I haven't seen you much these days. Where have you been? This question is maybe more appropriate to Are You Okay last year than this year, because we know where everyone's been. But it might be something like, I haven't seen you at the work drinks for the last few weeks. Is everything okay? And then just listen and let the person respond. So listen without judgment. And Annette's been talking about this in the meditation practice today as well. It can be really tempting to jump in and try to solve someone's problem or issue, particularly when there's someone you care about and you know that they're struggling. But hearing what they have to say and being supportive is really important at this point. Avoid saying things like, I know what you're going through. This just makes the conversation all about you. Other things that aren't really helpful to say are things like, look on the bright side, or just focus on the positives. These sorts of comments can make people feel worse and can send the message that what the person's going through isn't really important. What you can say are things like, wow, that sounds really hard. How can I help? Or you might say, I'm here for you. I'm listening. You're not alone. Avoid rushing the conversation and don't be afraid of silence. give the person some space to find words to express what they're going through. And once you've heard what they're dealing with and given plenty of space just for them to talk, encourage one small step that might help. So if the person's been feeling low for more than about 2 weeks, you might encourage them to speak to their GP or to speak to their psychologist. Or maybe they need to talk to someone at work or someone else in their life. Maybe they just need some help to figure out what to do, and maybe you can work through the problem with them. Sometimes a person's not ready to talk, so we can see that they're struggling and we can let them know that we've noticed, but they actually don't want to talk about it. So let them know that you're there and that you're available for a chat anytime, and leave that door open. Suggest catching up again soon. So you might even ask them, is it okay if I give you a call next week to see how you are? And leave that door open to reconnect and to check in. So 3 little words that can make a difference to someone's life. Are you okay? It might sound pretty simple, pretty intuitive, and it is. Are You Okay Day is really about giving everyone the confidence to be able to have these sorts of conversations, to be able to ask the question and to be there for each other. So thinking about Are You Okay Day, who will you ask? Who will you check in on this week? You might even want to pick up your pen or your phone and note down a few names or think of who's come to mind as you've been reflecting on this conversation. And we might open up the chat now for people to talk about maybe an example of where you've reached out to someone and it's really made a difference, or maybe someone's reached out to you and that's made a difference to you. So we'd really love to hear from people who are on the call today, if you have any examples of where reaching out has really made a difference to someone or to you.
I'll just let everyone know that I'm going to stop the recording now. And Amelia, do you want to stop the screen share so we can see each other as well?